Welcome to the Thursday, June 18th, 2026 meeting of the Lewis and Clark County Commission. We would ask you to stand with us and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll introduce everybody at this end of the room. To the far left is Jenny Chambers, our Director of Public Works and Planning. And then Brandy Grandy is our Recording Secretary, keeps track of all of our proceedings and makes them available to the public through our website. Commissioner Andy Hunthausen is to my immediate left. I'm Tom Rolfe, Chair of the Commission this year. Commissioner Candace Payne to my immediate right. Then Nico Hash from the County Attorney's Office, trying to keep us on the straight and narrow, and Roger Baltz, our Chief Administrative Officer. We do have a sign-up sheet at just beyond the bar. We ask that you fill that out and leave contact information for us, should we need to get back to you later on after the meeting. There is also an agenda located up alongside of the sign-up sheet. Mr. Baltz, we have some consent action items today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. You have item 2A on the agenda today. It's the vendor claims report for the week ending June 19, 2026. Staff recommends approval of that item, and Misty and Jeremy are here if you have any questions. Item 2B is public meeting minutes for May 19, June 2nd, and 4th, 2026. Staff recommends approval of that item as well. Thank you, Commissioners.
All right. Are there any questions for Mr. Baltz from the Commission? Are there any questions? Is there any public comment on the vendor claims and public meeting minutes? Any public comments? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve consent action items 2A and B as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of consent action items 2A and B, vendor claims and public meeting minutes for May 19th and June 2nd and 4th. Well, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is action item 3A, grant award to Lewis and Clark County for from the Montana Disaster and Emergency Services Division.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chair Kyle Sturgill-Simon with Emergency Management for Lewis and Clark County. For consideration of the board is acceptance of the Emergency Management Performance Grant. This is a grant managed and awarded by Montana Disaster and Emergency Services on behalf of FEMA. The grant is in the amount of $44,620, and there's a match of equal amount for $44,620. This funding is, we applied for this funding to go towards salaries and benefits for the 2 personnel in the emergency management program. It's been used in the past for bolstering the emergency management program's budget. Award was expected last fall, but it's been delayed until now, which means the period of performance actually started back in July 1st of 2025. It goes through June 30th of 2026. Sort of anticipation of that, expenses have been tracked for the last year, so we have a project code and everything that we've been putting costs towards. Identified priorities for use of the grant are building relationships between stakeholders, continued work on our emergency operations plan and hazard mitigation plan. You may recall we actually got a full 5-year update of our hazard mitigation plan done last year. It was a regional effort from the state, and each year we do a little mini review, so we keep that fresh and up to date, as well as community engagement and implementation of the incident command system. We do ICS 300, which is expanding incidents use of the incident command system training for all of our emergency response partners in the county. Try to do yearly. Sometimes it's every other year. So anyway, that is the grant award, and staff recommends approval.
All right. Any questions? I've got one. It seems to me that this was higher in the past. Is that correct? That we've been able to get more in the past, more money in the past?
Mr. Chair, yes, that is correct. So the numbers have been fluctuating a little bit. COVID had a little bit to do with that. So during COVID, there was an injection of extra funds that went toward local programs. Otherwise, back in 2021, the EMPG award would have been reduced kind of steadily. The State Disaster Emergency Services Division was using emergency COVID funds to keep our EMPG award as close to what it used to be as possible, but those funds have gone away. So now we're down to the state allotment. The whole grant nationwide is $317 million split up amongst all the states by population. And the reduction would have happened about 2 years ago, but they kept it trying not to shock us too much. But yes, it is reduced significantly now.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Payne.
Good morning, Kyle. First of all, what, where is the Montana Disaster and Emergency Services? Where are they in county government? I'm not asking what building they're in. I want to know who is the head person for this group.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne. So Montana Disaster Emergency Services Division is a division of the Department of Military Affairs from the state. They are the statewide emergency management agency.
Okay, thank you. And then, well, I was going to ask you why it has taken this long and to get the delay, but it's a state grant and who knows? Thank you. That's all. Anything else?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Henhouse.
Mr. Sturgill Simon, thanks for being here. Thanks for this. Just for those that might be watching, listening today, this is a annual thing, as we've talked about. And my understanding, the delay is more of a federal issue, reviews and all those kinds of things, and how the transition and reviews of these programs have happened. But that said, I mean, you can speak to that if you want. But that said, your anticipation, I think we were talking yesterday, anticipation of future grants be a little more timely. Like next year's is already in the works and may be coming much sooner, as well as, are you anticipating the dollar amounts being similar or up, down, whatever? Is there anything we can anticipate looking forward? I mean, you don't know it all, but your best guess, I guess. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hanhausen. Yes, so the this award in front of you right now had a couple of different setbacks, internal reviews on the Homeland Security side, some litigation. And so on our side and on the state side, we submitted applications well in advance last year, just to make sure that our application was on the books and ready to go. We've been doing that with some other FEMA grants as well, so that we're ready for when the funding is made available. The notice of funding opportunity was actually just released this last week for this current fiscal year. So they're very much trying to get us back on the cycle that we're used to.
Good.
All right.
Mr. Chair, and do you anticipate that dollars will be similar? Is that what they're?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hannes, yes. $317 million nationwide remained the same for this upcoming year as well.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Any other questions from the commission? Is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the grant award to Lewis and Clark County from the Montana Disaster and Emergency Services Division, as explained to us by Mr. Sturgill Simon.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the grant award to Lewis and Clark County from the Montana Disaster and Emergency Services Division, as explained by Kyle Sturgill Simon, please say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is a board appointment. Mr. Bolts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This is item 3B on the agenda today. It involves the Lincoln Solid Waste District Board. There are 2 vacancies on the board. Sarah Tams applied. There were no other applicants. Staff recommends that the commission consider Sarah Tams to a partial term that will expire June 30, 2028. Thank you, Commissioners.
All right. And are any questions of Mr. Baltz? Any questions, Mr. Baltz? Is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? I see no public comment. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we appoint Sarah Tams to the Lincoln Solid Waste District Board as presented by Mr. Baltz.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Sarah Tams to the partial term that is open on the Lincoln Solid Waste District Board. If there's no further discussion, is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is a discussion and direction regarding the Murray Building. Mr. Balls.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Commissioners, thank you, Brandy, for displaying that. Commissioners, I would appreciate a conversation today about the Murray Building. On your screen is the Murray Building, and I've given you a memo that has a lot of information about the history, the current use, the amount of square footage, all of those types of things. But Commissioners, this building is a county-owned building, and it is located at 11th Avenue and Fee Street out near the interstate. I think Valley Bank is just next to it as well, too, to remind you of where it's located. The building for many years has housed a health center called PureView. They lease a little over half of the space. Our county health operations is in the other roughly half of the building. It's a little less than half of the square footage. But Commissioners, the reason I wanted to speak with you a little bit about it today is to talk about, we've had some possible interest indicated about possibly purchasing the building. And I know that each of you, I believe, have had a chance to go out and tour it recently. Right now, this piece of real estate, obviously, we would not proceed with selling a piece of property unless that was supported and directed by our county commissioners. And Commissioners, we deal with real estate related issues all the time. Recently, we were up in Augusta, if you'll recall, and there was an interest in purchasing Ping Park up there. And in the past, we've had interest on lots of different pieces of property. But with this particular piece of property, I want to make sure that myself and our staff have the support of the commissioners for conversations that are happening, discussions that are happening, research that is being done. And so that's why I wanted to put it on the agenda for you today. Again, you have a memo from me that has a lot of information in it. A lot of the property that the county owns, that the taxpayers own, has different unique characteristics and also unique and different restrictions that may apply to it. And with the Murray Building, for many years, it has served our community very well. The tenants and the health operations do a wonderful job of providing services that benefit the community. But we always want to be open to discussions about use of real estate, you know, for the priorities that the commissioners have. On this particular item, right now, the Murray Building the status is that it is not for sale. We have not listed it for sale at this time. That could change in the future, depending on what we want to do. Maybe I will share with you, commissioners, over the years, many millions of dollars have been invested in the building, dating back to roughly 2013. We've already been doing a little bit of research in the background to renovate the building for use as a health center. And that dates back to 2013. Also in the 2017 time period, the county obtained a grant also to remodel another part of the building. It was a little over $650,000 for remodeling the building. This past year, our building department, our building operation in Public Works has, we've spent a little over, I think it's around 650, I think it's 667. It's around $600,000 for improvements to the air system. So as we do with all of our assets, we try to be very strategic and be forward thinking to take good care of the county taxpayers' assets. But significantly, the issue has come up as there's been some interest possibly in purchasing the building. Would appreciate a quick conversation or as much detail as you want to get in today about this matter to see what the county commissioners' thoughts are about this as we move forward. So glad to answer any questions that I can, commissioners, but I just wanted to frame that up for you for a discussion today.
Thank you, Mr. Baltz. Any thoughts, discussion? Commissioner Hunthausen?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Payne, Mr. Baltz, thank you. Appreciate the overview, the memo, putting it on the agenda for discussion. It's a good thing. Beyond the potential sale interest or the acquiring interest of the property, I think there's another question as well, and that is space needs for our public health department and future needs and what scenarios we might be able to muster up in the best interest of the people that we serve, the taxpayers. And so my interest in this discussion is really to do some of that research, to take the opportunity to really look at our space needs, look at the current use of the building, what makes the best sense for potential future service to our community. And a couple of things jump out for me from that perspective. One is Mr. Baltz just described the investment that we've made in the building over the years. Since I've been here, it's been pretty significant. I think one of the grants was a $5 million grant, and that was in partnership with Peerview. Of course, it was technically a county, we brought it in through the county, all those kinds of things, but we improved the building for the specific use as a medical clinic, that portion of the building as a medical clinic, and that's where Peerview is housed. And so some of that renovation is very health center specific. I'll call it doctor office clinic renovation, exam rooms, nursing stations. There's things piped into those rooms that are specialized and expensive and difficult to recreate in the community somewhere else. And they were funded by the federal taxpayer. If they were to have to be recreated down the street in another building, it would probably be on the taxpayer again to recreate those specialty rooms and all of that. So that's already been done in this building. So there is some interest in, wow, if we could, and again, this is just speculation, imagination, if we could find a space in the community that served the needs of our health department, and this building could be preserved as a clinic, and that scenario was able to happen somehow where the taxpayer would come out kind of even Steven on the whole deal, then it might be worth studying. And I think that is kind of where my interest lies. And I think in talking with our health officer, the interest is to say, hey, let us look into this. We have space needs. Our partner in the community, Peerview, has space needs. Let us look at some scenarios around the community in this situation to study this, what the potential is out there, and what what ways we might meet the needs of our tax-paying community into the future and have everybody's needs met. It is fact that we own the building. It is a county building. Our needs are paramount for county needs and county health department needs. But there may be some scenarios where we can meet everybody's needs. Peerview is primarily a taxpayer-funded operation as well. Majority of their income and probably their infrastructure, I know this part of the infrastructure, paid for by federal dollars, which is all of our taxes. So in the best interest of all of the taxpayers that are investing in this building, I think we owe it to ourselves and to them to study all the options out there and give our staff opportunity to look at scenarios in the community that might meet the needs long-term for all of the interests that are out there. And maybe the answer in the end is it's not possible, or we have to go this route because we cannot entertain X, Y, or Z. But I think we do a disservice to ourselves and to our taxpayer if we don't study the issue and study the potential space needs and scenarios where we could all get maybe have the best interest of the taxpayer in mind long term. So I'll just leave it at that right now. I may have more to add as we go along here, but that's my initial thoughts on it, commissioners.
Okay. Commissioner?
Thank you. I had the opportunity to tour the building a couple weeks ago and visit with the people at Peerview, as well as Director Neiman. And it was an interesting tour. I really appreciated seeing, and I was also surprised to see that Peerview had done some work on preliminary opinions as to cost of this project. And being the old lawyer that I am, I immediately am thinking, wait a second, we can't just, because Peerview says we can't just automatically sell this or give it or whatever we're going to do to a party without, I'm pretty sure if Nico is done reading his brief, he could tell me this. We are required to put something like this out for anybody else to bid on at the same time, aren't we? And don't we, aren't there some time frames that we have to comply with? And we don't need another lawsuit. So I'm very happy to see that this is being approached as a study plan. I think that is, and I'm sure Nico will have a word on importance of a study plan and what all we would have to look at.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, yes. And so I'm going to give you the classic lawyer response as always, it depends. And so as
I knew that.
Mr. Baltz and Commissioner Hunthausen mentioned, right, there's been some grant funding or some grant fund expenditures into this building over time. A lot of times we see, we call them strings attached or requirements of how those grant funds and building improvements can be used. Commissioner Payne, to your question, yep. So when the county has real property, there's a process that it has to go through. The Board of County Commissioners has adopted a resolution in accordance with state law about how you want to look at real property. I think you are well within that plan is what's presented to you today is to study what the conditions are of the building, what the uses are for the county, if the county still needs that, if the county doesn't need that, and go through the process. There is the requirement that property gets sold for fair market value. If it's valued at over $20,000, that's going to be part of this. I know it got brought up, what's the value of something that may or may not have a limited use? There's always options too, with some of the federal grant funding to explain that that use is no longer needed. So I know I'm not giving you some specific answers, but I think that's the first step is what's happening today, which is to get direction from you all to continue to explore what options and all the options and what that looks like so you guys can be informed with your next decisions.
Okay.
Another,
Yeah,
I'd
Commissioner
like
Payne.
to continue this with the county attorney's office. Um, it's my understanding that the federal grant money, and I understand it was about maybe $5 million. It was a substantive amount. Was used for renovations of the building to enhance the use of our tenant, Pureview. Is that correct? Was it used for anything else, or do you know?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, as I'm talking about this, if I misstate anything, please jump in. Previously, the county and Pureview were applying together to operate a federally qualified health center. So essentially, it was a joint applicant. So when we say it was a Pureview thing, it was also a county thing, but it was kind of like two separate entities working together. So when the formal, I'm going to call it the formal split between the county and Pureview happened, that's kind of where we see our tenant language coming up. So a lot of the renovations that happened to this building were occurred when both the county and Pureview were operating a federally qualified health center as co-applicants. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that component.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add a little bit to the conversation.
Mr. Baltz, yes.
So we've been researching the files, and the grant was for $5 million from a federal agency called HRSA. It's an acronym, Commissioner. That $5 million was also supplemented with another $500,000 of county funds back in 2013. And the separation agreement that we entered into with Pureview in 2019, we worked on that for many, many months. And if you take a look at that separation agreement, it has several exhibits, but one of the exhibits is a very extensive list of assets and equipment that apply to belonging to Pureview and what applies to the county. So
Separate lists.
yes. So we have that in place as well too. And this is one of, as we were talking about, our different properties have different criteria, and I'll use Mr. Hash's statement, strings sometimes attached to those properties. And commissioners, I would also add this just for you to be thinking about. We have real estate, of course, all over our county, and some of it, when we've dealt in the past with real estate related transactions, we've done a very comprehensive, exhaustive approach, like when we shifted operations from the detention center to the Fuller Avenue building. We had a very extensive working group that we put in place that met for several months and reviewed numerous issues that came up about that move and looking at new locations for those operations. It was very successful and it worked well. So that was the way we handled that. But another example I'll throw out is we know that the county commissioners want us to informally keep a close eye out for any property opportunities that come up around what we call the courthouse campus. So over the years, we've had different properties that have come up available for sale, and we've tried to keep our eyes and ears open to that and go investigate that whenever the opportunity comes up. But that's a less formal process that we use. And if we see a piece of property that we think we might be interested in, we can have our building staff look at that, or we can use a more formal process, which we've done in the past, which is to bring an architectural firm in that does due diligence and looks at top to bottom, structural issues. So I just wanted to throw that into the conversation too, but there's different ways that we deal with real estate to try to be looking out for the best interest of our taxpayers and also following the priorities that the county commissioners want us to pay attention to. So just a little more information for your discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Baltz. Commissioner Payne.
Mr. Balls, another question. It seems to me that this is going to be a more complicated study than it appears on its face. This isn't just about letting Pureview take over this piece of property. We're also going to have to find a piece of property that will fulfill the needs of our health department and the people that it serves. And so that will need to be part of the study and balanced out if the benefit and the burden for moving or staying or buying a new building I mean, this is not something that can be done by the end of this fiscal year, I would say. Is that agree with you? Think that true?
So, commissioners, yes, I think the due diligence always takes time. A thorough evaluation will take time. Hard to predict how much time because you don't know what issues you'll encounter. Would need to be evaluated from the legal point of view, financial point of view. You know, we don't have any kind of a CIP set up, nor in our budget do we have funds set aside, you know, to engage in any kind of a comprehensive effort of evaluating possible other locations. And commissioners, I think let's talk about whatever's important for you to talk about on this. But I think for me, the key issue is right now, we're not listing the building for sale. Now that could change in the future. And we don't have this as a priority to have our staff mobilized to working on. If we want to review, if we hear from our commissioners, you want us to review those options, then of course, we will devote ourselves to reviewing those options. That's what I'd really appreciate a conversation about today, if that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments? I'm wondering, would it be helpful to have input from the health department?
Yeah.
Brenda,
Trenda?
Brenda, would you like to make a comment?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Brenda Neiman. I'm the Health Officer, Department Director for Lewis and Clark Public Health. It is information that has been known that we have space challenges in this building, and I've been having conversations with the commissioners about that for a while now. We've also been having conversations with the Board of Health. Looking at our facility needs have been listed in this department strategic plan for over 6 years. Because the operations of the health department are directed by the Board of Health, they're also concerned with making sure that we have an adequate facility to do our business out of. And so, it's a known fact that we have some space challenges, and it's been that way for a little while. We did have SMA complete a preliminary architect report. I want to say 21, but it may have been 22. I can't remember the exact year that happened. But essentially that preliminary architect report identified that the health department really does need between 15 and 17,000 square feet to operate well for the work that we do and to serve the public. We are currently in just over 11,000 square feet of this building. So that kind of paints a little bit of a picture of what our needs are. There has been an opportunity that was presented by a community partner that may help us solve some of these space issues. What I'm hoping for is the opportunity to study it, look at the options, look at the possibilities, and at the end of the day, determine if there's an option that is fiscally responsible, meets everybody's needs, and that allows both a health department and Peerview serve the public better. Because at the heart of everything that we do, I think it's important that we keep the people in this community at the center of it. And so I think that if we had an opportunity to look at the options and really get a clear understanding of what the needs are and how we can serve the community and do it in a fiscally responsible way, that we can then bring back a recommendation to the commission for consideration. But at this time, I do think that it's worth taking time to look at it and study it.
Any questions? Commissioner Hunthausen.
Mr. Chair, just a couple of things. Thank you, Health Officer Neiman. I share your concerns and interest in studying the issue. I just, question for Mr. Baltz, and just a comment. There's nothing we need to do by the end of this fiscal year. The end of the fiscal year is in 2 weeks. I mean, there's nothing we need to do. And in terms of cost for this investigation, it would obviously take some staff time, but we have contingency funds, we have miscellaneous contract funds. We do this all the time where something comes up in the middle of the year and we say, hey, let's do an assessment on this building or an architectural review, or, we study on this particular thing, and we spend, I'm just making this up, but we spend $5,000 on a contract to help us understand something better to get to a decision point. So that's not an issue from that perspective, right, Mr. Baltz? I mean, that's available and happens all the time.
I agree. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that's not a big issue from that perspective, and I think we may have some opportunity, just as Health Officer Neiman said, to meet the needs of all involved, as well as really have our community in mind. I mean, we're service to the community is our whole mission. That's why essentially local government exists, to serve our community. And so if we can do that in a more efficient way with partners in the community, and we can do it where the taxpayer is not burdened further, why wouldn't we study that? So that's kind of where I am. I think we have an opportunity here to check out the scene and see what might be possible. So thanks, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any other questions? Commissioner Payne.
We don't want to let Drenda think she's out of here without some heavy lifting. Drenda, and your proposal, I understand, is that we commence the action by doing a study. And so can you give me an idea as what you see as far as who would be involved in the study and estimate of the cost and length of time you see this? Because I don't think this is something we want to rush into and get done, as Andy said, by the end of this fiscal year. But so can you kind of give me a little guidance there?
Sure. Mr. Chair and Commissioner Payne, I'll do my best at answering your questions, but I might also look to Jenny for some help with it, because I think they over in Public Works have some experience doing this, and so she might be able to share some of the details that I leave out. What I would like to see at this point, because there's been an opportunity that has presented itself, that we start by looking at the opportunity that's in front of us. I think that we have some incredible experts in Public Works, and we have Frank Cornwell in County Finance that can put some time and energy and expertise around looking at the opportunity that has kind of presented itself, and see if it's feasible, see if it's financially feasible, see if that meets the needs of the health department in particular, see if it meets the needs of the community, see if an investment, a different investment would make for a better long-term investment for the county. To look at those things, I think that we have some really great expertise within the county, but there may be a need to also pull in, contracted expertise. And so I'll let Jenny kind of speak to where her staff expertise kind of stop and where we would need to maybe potentially pull in a contracted expert to help us think through and study. But thanks, Jenny.
Sure. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners and Drenda, thank you. So certainly Public Works would be part of the team to help Public Health and the Commissioners with this study. The Murray Building is currently managed by our Buildings Department. And so with any county building, we would want to evaluate what options might exist. So if they're looking at another building for Public Health to move into, what is that other building? What is the age of the building? What is the maintenance needs of the building, and what work's been done? So you have an asset now, And we want to make sure with our CIP and the efforts that we put into it, that we're not getting another asset that would require additional cost or upgrades above what we're currently trying to maintain with the current building. There's always issues that come up with buildings and building maintenance. So it doesn't mean that the Murray building is not without a long-term risk as well. It's an aged facility. We've invested a lot of money into it, but we have other aged facilities as well. So there's things that always pop up that are unknowns, that are building maintenance activities that we have to perform. But we would want to take that due diligence and look at another building to make sure that we understood what maintenance needs are needed, how they've done preventive maintenance, what the activities of that operation is, so that we know that the CIP we currently have, would that be managed the same way at the other location, and what kind of resources would be needed from a building maintenance standpoint to maintain that long term. So that's one thing. The other thing would be what legal talked about is just what's the use of the building? What restrictions do we have? Are all parties aware of what restrictions current properties may or may not have? At the Murray building, there is a lease with Montana Department of Transportation that would have to be apparent to anybody that was taking over this building. The right-of-way on 11th Avenue is MDT, and the county leases that front parking area from the Montana Department of Transportation. So all of those things would be studied. All of those would be evaluated on a list for this location and other locations, so that all parties, including the commissioners, understood what risks and what decisions you're making moving forward, looking at those options.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay.
And so Commissioner Payne, to kind of top that off, your question about time frame, whatever time it takes to do it right.
Okay. Another concern I have is we're looking at this preliminary opinion of cost that PureView had prepared, and it gives us the beginning of a place to stand. But I also kind of feel like my dear old dad would say, let's see, we got 2 coyotes and a chicken trying to figure out who's going to have dinner. And we need, until we have another or somebody else with an idea as to what they would be willing to pay for that building, this has got to be thoroughly researched. This is taxpayer dollars. And just because you or Jenny thinks it's a good idea, the buck stops here. If we go for this, we're going to be held our little feet to the fire, because it either, oh my God, you're spending way too much taxpayer money. Our taxes are too high. We want to, the drill. So I'm very cautious about this. I think we do need to go down that road to see where it leads, and there may be things we haven't thought of that will be beneficial through this action. But I'm going to really want to have a very thorough discussion, very thorough study, and make sure the results of the study are in a balanced, so they have the benefits and the burdens, and they're not just looking at short-term gain or this is going to make Drenda happy because she wants to have an office with a view. Just kidding. But this is really serious stuff. And so I hate to be a wet blanket, but that's what I'm supposed to do. So I appreciate you bringing this up, but I'm not ready to jump off the cliff yet.
And Commissioner Payne, I would say that one of the criteria that absolutely has to be primary and a priority is fiscal responsibility. So I can't imagine a scenario where you would be presented a recommendation that wouldn't be fiscally responsible.
Thank you, Drenda.
Okay. Other questions? Maybe if we could, there's part of the history of this whole thing that occurred before I got on the commission. Do I remember right that sometime I think you mentioned 2019 there was a separation between the PureView was actually part of the county, and was it a decision that the county decided that they would like to separate peer review, or was it a decision where peer review said they felt like they could do a better job being more independent from the county?
Commissioners, yes, peer review requested to separate from the county, and we negotiated a separation agreement over several months, and they separated from the county.
Okay, all right. And we depend on them to take care of a lot of folks in our community as well. And they help a lot with folks that can't afford medical care, and they step up and take care of that as part of their duties as a federally qualified health facility of some kind. Is that right?
Yes, Commissioners. So PureView is an FQHC, Federally Qualified Health Center. I hope I got that acronym correct. And yes, that is a part of their mission. And the commissioners have supported that for many, many years. And it's been a partnership at this location that has served the community well for a long time. Also, commissioners, I'm sure you probably recall this, but the commissioners have been very supportive of that mission. And through our Human Services Task Force, our HSTF, on an annual basis over the past several years, the county has been contributing a little over $254,000 per year to PureView to assist with expenses they have associated with care for people who are underinsured or not insured. And you approve that as a part of your budget process every year. So, in fact, that's been occurring for many, many years, if that helps.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner
a
Hunt.
little bit on the history. Mr. Baltz said that correctly. Officially, PureView requested the separation, but I think it was done, the overall perspective, it was done together. We did not fight that or weren't against it. We weren't, it was something where they were growing to the size that being under the county umbrella was in some ways limiting to them in terms of working as a nonprofit and being nimble, hiring, firing people, whatever it might be, and working quickly in the community versus working through county operations. And in other large locations, large jurisdictions around the state, that same thing was happening. And I think under federal rule, and I could be corrected on this, but under federal rule, FQHCs can partner with counties and or they can stand alone as kind of like a nonprofit in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so originally, in order to get going, the Cooperative Health Center, it was called then, partnered with the county, and it was kind of part of county operations. So those employees, essentially through agreement, Mr. Hash may correct me here, but through agreement, they acted as if and were functioning as county employees for the most part, through our HR, through, they followed all county policies and procedures and those kinds of things. And so for them to be nimble in the community, go after this grant or that grant, or try to be react quickly to the marketplace from a nonprofit perspective, it was kind of challenging for them to do so and be under the county umbrella. And so it came to the point in their size, they were growing, serving more people in the community, that separation seemed like the best option. That if they stood alone, still partnered with the county, but stood alone from an administrative perspective, they would be more nimble in the community, could act and probably serve the community in a more efficient and a better way, yet still partnering with the county and still staying in the same space and all of that. And we had renovated the space to be specifically for their needs, that kind of thing. So it was in partnership. So Mr. Baltz would be able to say that through, and Mr. Hash, through that process of separation and coming to an agreement, there were a lot of humps and bumps and things we had to get over and things we had to get and agree to ultimately in the agreement. But the general idea of separating, I think we were both on board for that. There wasn't any hard feelings from that perspective. It was kind of, this is probably the best move now. There were some dominoes that fell later about, that many employees leaving the system and with our partners at the state and all of that. But those are separate issues from from the separation. So just a little bit more history. It was kind of agreed on, and we still had the sense that we were very tightly connected and partners in the community and serving those in most need for medical services through healthcare for the homeless and this contribution that we make annually to serve those most in need and to help Peerview keep that. And then we've partnered in other ways through our health insurance program, with the 340B program over time, and there's some changes happening there. But there's been lots of ways that we've partnered with Peerview over time, and so I think in all of that has been, as Health Officer Neiman said, trying to look at the best interest of our community and those partners that serve our community the best, and how we can do that in unison with the most value to the taxpayer, I think. And that's kind of what we've done over time. So anyway, if that helps add to the richness of the history.
And if I could jump in, Commissioners,
Commissioner Ball.
just to add just a little to that, really summed it up. Yes, exactly right. So as a part of the separation agreement, Commissioner, that we negotiated back in 2019, one of the exhibits that is a part of the separation agreement is also the lease agreement that we agreed to for the use of the Murray Building. And that lease agreement has language in it that states that we will develop a per square foot charge, that applies to Peerview as a tenant and lists us as their landlord. And it set a lease in place for a 5-year initial term plus an option for another 5 years. And Peerview has exercised that request for another 5 years. So that just wanted to mention that as a part of that separation agreement, we also agreed to the lease that's in place right now as well.
All right. Any other thoughts or comments? What sort of a direction would you like to get, Mr. Baltz?
Commissioners, thank you so much for the conversation today. This is exactly what I had hoped for. I just wanted to get the issue out before us to talk about. I guess I'll end where I started, which is there's been an interest indicated in purchasing the property. The status of the property is it is not for sale at this time. So it continues to not be for sale, but I think what I'm hearing the commissioners indicate is that you have an interest in looking at options and pursuing options. And commissioners, I would just state the obvious. With all of these processes, just like we're doing today, we must be transparent. And it's also, we should not engage in any kind of process that is selective or could be perceived as favoritism in any way involving any of these real estate related actions or transactions or things like that. And if we want to, one of the things that I thought worked very well for us when we made the change from where we had our sheriff's office and the Helena Police Department and emergency management used to be in what is now the detention center. The process we used for when we looked at other locations to relocate to we really were sensitive and focused on a open process. We actually sent out messages and solicited for any and all parties who had certain properties that met the criteria we were looking for, that they could give us a presentation. And in fact, we had several parties who came in and met with the working group to said, I have this piece of property that might meet your criteria. I'd like you to consider it for these reasons. So it was a very open process. That's what I mean by making sure that we're not restrictive or selective or anything that could be looked at as favoritism for looking at different options that are out there. So I just wanted to throw that into the discussion as well. But commissioners, thank you. I'm hearing that you're interested in us working on this, researching the options. And as we mobilize our staff and look at those options, I think I have for what I need, commissioners, unless you have more questions or concerns, and unless you heard me say something that you don't agree with.
Any comment here, Commissioner Payne?
So, Roger, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. It seems to me that we have asked for a deeper dive into this, a formal study, do you see that as involving Jenny and her team, or do you see that as setting up a working group that would involve one of the commissioners, one of the county attorney folks, somebody that is not really involved in, that will not be impacted one way or another? How will you go about doing that, or is it something that the commission needs to do?
So, Commissioner, thank you. I'm glad you asked that question. So, this phrase, doing a study, a formal study, I'm not envisioning, bringing in a consultant, entering into a contract, to do a formal study. I don't think we need to do that at this point. I think that if the commissioners are supportive of looking into these options, that should be coordinated. It should be coordinated. This is a piece of property that belongs to Lewis and Clark County. It is owned by Lewis and Clark County. It's our responsibility to take care of this and make decisions about, with all due respect, it's not the decision of the Board of Health or any other entities. It's the county commissioners. And we do that. This is what we do, commissioners. We follow up, and when you indicate that a project or an issue is a priority for you, then we devote our staff and our resources to spending time and effort to research that and bring back recommendations to you. So we would do that. And we would not delegate it to others. We would do that and bring that recommendation back to you. And as far as the coordination of it, that's my job. That's what you pay me to do as your CAO, working together with the entities involved. And we can make all of that happen and bring that back to you. So that would be my suggestion to you today, or my recommendation to you if you're looking for a recommendation. But do it in partnership with the people who are affected by it. We must do that. That's crucial to success. And we have a good example of what we did for the detention center. We have a nice model. I've given that to you in the memo, where we pulled a lot of people together. But it needs to be a coordinated partnership type of an effort that moves forward. But we don't want to delegate this task to others. We want to take it on and take ownership of it as our county government. That's what I would suggest.
Are you happy with that? All right. All right. All right. Well, if this gives you the direction that you ask for, we'll just we'll leave it at that, and expect that somewhere down the line you'll get back to us with some facts and figures and ideas on how to proceed, or if to proceed.
Thanks for the conversation, commissioners. Much appreciated.
All right. Is there any other comment on that anyone would like to make on this item? I'll leave that open to the public, if there's any other public comment. Well, now at the end, oh yes, come on in.
Green
Oh,
light.
yes. Yeah, and if you would
Is that better?
state your name and
Yes. So I am Michelle Martin, CEO at Peerview Health Center. I wanted to come up and thank each of you for coming to the health center to view it and kind of see what we do, what our space challenges are, in conjunction with Drenda. We kind of had that tour together, so I just wanted to thank you for that. And also, it does make me very happy to hear that you're all aware of our mission, and you all seem to be very first on the patient population we serve and how vital we are to the community. We've been in that building for several years, for decades at this point, even though we had name changes and switched from the county. But yes, we are kind of a vital presence in that location to the community. Everyone knows who we are and where we are. And of course, having all of those space issues in addition to public health space issues. So I just basically wanted to thank you for being present and being willing to have the conversation. And again, we're happy to hear that might be the direction you're going, is to at least investigate the option to help the community out by providing space for both organizations.
all right.
Any questions for me?
Any questions All right. Thank you for being here. And
Thank you.
And appreciate all that you do for us.
Thank you.
Is there any other comment on it? On this item? Any other comment? Well, we'll move on then. We always leave time at the end of our meeting for public comment on any item that's under the direction of the county commission, but not on today's agenda. So we always leave that opportunity for people to come in and tell us that we aren't paying enough attention to one thing or another, or things that they feel that we should know about. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? There being none, we're adjourned.